All right, fourth graders, here's what we're working on today. We are on lesson 10, and this is going to be your template. It is attached to your problem set. So go ahead and pull that out. And what we're going to do first is I'm going to write this. Go ahead and say it in your head before I say it out loud. Okay, that is 15 hundredths. We're going to actually fill that in over here in this area model. So 15 hundredths, how many holes do I have? Well, none. So I won't be filling in the whole thing. How many tenths do I have? I have 1/10. So what would I fill in? I would fill in 1. I'm going to turn my paper sideways because I know that it's a little bit easier to shade. So there's my 1/10. Now, the last thing I have is 5 hundredths. Well, in order to fill in hundredths, I need to divide this up so that I have 100 little pieces. And we do that by dividing it into 10 sections. Go ahead and pause while you do that. All right, as always, mine are not perfect, but that's okay. So I have 1/10 done. Now I need to do 5 hundredths. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what it should look like. Now, in the second area model, I would like you to create this decimal. First, I want you to say it in your head, and then I will tell you it. It is 51 hundredths. I want you to create that here in this area model. Think to yourself, how many holes, tenths, hundredths? Go ahead and pause while you put this into here. You should have known that there were 0 holes, 5 tenths, so I colored in 5 straight rows, and then 1 hundredth. I waited to do my hundredths until after I had done my tenths, but you can do it either way. You'd also notice there's 51 hundredths. If I counted all these boxes, I would end up with 51, but I'm not going to. So now we're going to compare 15 hundredths versus 51 hundredths. Well, even without the area model, I would assume you would recognize that 51 hundredths is bigger than 15, but if not, you could use the area model to see that obviously 51 hundredths is larger. You will be doing this on your problem set today. If you need more practice, you can practice giving yourself ones and testing yourself, and you can raise your hand and I can certainly come and check them. All right, we're going to go ahead and flip to the back to the number line template. All right, so we're going to move on to our lesson 10 template. I made a mistake up here, so we're just going to ignore that one. What I'd like you to do is I would like you to label your number line, but this time we're going to use tenths as our endpoints instead of whole numbers. So this is going to be 4 3/10, and this is going to be 4 6/10. What do you think would go on these two lines? Well, if you said 4 4/10 and 4 5/10, then you are correct. They are broken into tenths, not whole numbers. Because our large lines are broken into tenths, what do you think these little guys are? Hopefully you said hundredths, because there are 10 hundredths and a tenth, and these would all be hundredths. So if I said to you, can you go ahead and plot 4 5/10? Would that be pretty easy? Well, I would hope so, because it's right there in front of you. But then if I said, let's go ahead and plot 4 38 hundredths, where would you plot it? Go ahead and pause while you figure that out. You should have chosen to plot it right here, because this is 4 3/10, 31 hundredths, 32 hundredths, 33 hundredths, 34 hundredths, 35 hundredths, 36 hundredths, 37 hundredths, 38 hundredths. Because it falls between 4 3/10 and 4 4/10, because there's no 4 here yet. We're close. So what can I say about these two numbers? Well, yeah, I could say 4 5/10 is obviously bigger. So this is how you could use your number line to help you determine greater than or less than or equal to, just by looking at breaking your number line into tenths as the big bars, and then the rest would be hundredths. If you're just comparing tenths, that's relatively easy. But once you throw those hundredths in there, it gets a little more complicated. So the last thing I want to do is I just want to draw your attention to the section on the second page of your problem set. Some of you, I know, are going to go, yep, greater than, less than, equal, done. And not really take the time to think about it. You need to think about it. Some of these are really close and it's hard to tell. But the first step always is look at the whole. Always look at your whole first. So let's go ahead and take A for example. I have 3 holes, I have 3 holes. Well, that doesn't help me at all. Second step is to always go to the tenths. I have 4 tenths or I have 7 tenths. Oh, well obviously 7 is greater than 4. That makes that bigger. If you have equal tenths, the third step would be to go and look at your hundredths and see if your hundredths, which one is bigger. But you go in this order always. Whole, tenths, hundredths. So if you were looking at letter E, I have 12 holes versus 12 holes. Oh, okay, so I can compare the 12s. I could break it into tens, ones, etc. Don't get fooled by that 0. It just is a placeholder. They're at the end of a number. This down here, you actually have to solve these. You can't just guess. 23 tenths, what does it look like? 1 and 4 tenths, what does it look like? You must write it down below. What does it equal? All right. You could compare these this way, but it's not a smart idea. Make them the same. Compare apples to apples. Now you're comparing apples and oranges, fractions and decimals. Make them the same so they look the same. What do they equal? Then compare. All right, go ahead and find a partner. Good luck.